Mrs. Cunningham.
That's okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I know we're discussing very important things, but we do have a storm coming. So without any further ado, would you please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome. We're glad to have all of you here this morning. We are very happy to have Mr. Farnsworth on the dais with us. The superintendent is attending a very important meeting about the storm, but she will be joining us shortly. Without further ado, Mr. Zachary, are you ready, sir?
Yes, good morning. I have to speak in the microphone. So this is the presentation phase for the construction managers for the evaluation for the USS Elementary School project. Most of the presentations similar to last week's. I'm going to skip over some of the slides that we talked about last week. I'm going to go directly into the slides for the construction managers, what we asked of them. Okay. So these are the shortlisted vendors. Charles Perry, DAG, DNA Construction, and Morton Smith were the three shortlisted vendors. We talked about the initial focus, which is the planning phase. With the caveat for the construction management services, we added elements such as cost estimating, constructability review, and then participation in stakeholder meetings, community chairs, and other presentations. And the goal for the construction manager, we wanted them at the same time with the architect, is to support the architect's decision-making process too. So that's why. These are the evaluation criteria for the presentation. Describe the experience and how it will bring value to the project. Describe the approach to phase one, master planning, to include the relationship and coordination with the architect. Discuss how your firm will support the architect during the phase one process. And then discuss specific study elements that you believe are important to the school campus assessment and relate previous experiences with performing those assessments. The fourth one is discuss cost estimating techniques and the importance of accurate cost estimating in assisting the school board in making any informed decision. And then the fifth and last is discussing the qualifications of staff to be involved in phase one and their role in this phase, and explain the impact of their current workload to this project. Okay. So a little bit, some of them are similar to last week, but 2 or 3 of them are different. Each vendor will have 25 minutes to present, and followed by 10 to 15-minute Q&A. I'll keep time. And then after that, I'll open it up for brief discussion from you, and then I'll tally up the results like last week, and we'll announce the highest rated or the lowest ranked vendor in this case, based on the score. Okay. Questions? Clear? All right. I'll start calling them, so we'll start with CPPI. Yeah. Good morning. So, everybody's here? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
you'll have 25 minutes to present, followed by
Thank you.
10 to 15-minute Q&A with the board. I'll keep time. I'll let you know at the 10-minute mark, 5-minute mark, 2-minute mark, and then when time is up. You want them right there? To the left, right? And when you speak, please speak into the microphone. So you'll have this microphone and that, and if you want to carry one of those, it's up to you. Yep, this works. And this is the clicker. You want to do the introduction, or is your introduction part of the presentation?
Start with introductions.
Okay, I'll give you a couple minutes to do so.
Give me a chance to get used to my microphone. So, Charles Perry Partners, thanks for having us. I'm Jason Morgan, Principal in Charge for CPPI. I'm joined today in our presentation by Kristen Andreasen, who will be your project manager throughout the pre-construction and construction. And then Paul Gaynor owns GP Construction. He's our Lake County partner, been building out of his Groveland office for about 10 years. So us three will be presenting, and we got some other folks in the audience.
Ready?
Ready to rock.
All right, time starts now.
So we'll start with good news. Lake County Schools made a great decision to get an architect on board and a CM on board early to properly plan this project. So normally when we sit up here, we show you a lot of pictures of bricks and beams and concrete, but today is a little bit different. We're talking about how are we going to work together seamlessly with Schinkel Schultz, your selected architect, to make good decisions about the project. How are we going to be one cohesive team, all with one thing in mind: what is best for the students? So we're going to show you over the next 24 minutes how this team has the experience and the right lessons learned to know what's best for the students. So we started by looking at the vision and mission of Lake County Schools, and we align that with our vision and mission. And what you see on the right is our core values, SITES: commitment, integrity, teamwork, excellence, and stewardship. What we did about 10 years ago is every CPPI employee carries this coin with them, and it has those sites on it. So you know when you select CPPI, we all have these core values in mind, and everybody has this coin. And there's a great story why we have this coin that if we have time in Q&A, I can tell you that story. But that gives you the confidence that we're going to make good decisions and do what's best for the students. We have a long history of success with Lake County. You can see here 6 projects we've done in the early 2000s with folks that are on this team today, and we're committed. We've presented on those last 5 projects, and we're excited about getting our opportunity, our turn, to come back and work with Lake County. And Paul and I are a product of Lake County Schools, so we're pretty excited as well about it. And then we looked at your criteria. Again, this criteria is more about the process of planning and designing than it is about the sticks and bricks. So we start with some experience in what we bring and some just quick case studies of what CPPI has recently done that's going to bring those lessons learned and that cost value data that we're going to need to make the right decisions to get the most value for Eustis Elementary School. And it starts with Lawton Elementary School. This is a project we're wrapping up right now. Kristen, your project manager's the project manager on this project. And some of the similarities are this is a historic campus, a community that's very passionate about keeping that historic feel of the campus, and again, a phased construction with a lot of budget challenges.
Another key aspect of that is the same design team as well. And then a common theme that you'll see through these different examples that we're presenting to you today is just community involvement. So on this top right photo, you're going to see there's actually 3 generations of Lawton students that were present at our groundbreaking for this brand new addition to the Lawton campus. And then down on the lower right-hand photo, this is an actual historic community-based building that is just feet away from where our active construction site was. So what we did was incorporate that into our overall project footprint to maintain safety and delineation during not only just the week with student drop-off and pickup, but also on the weekends. As you can see, the farmers markets that they had here on campus that spread out in front of this building, to the side of this building, around this building, and in the heart of our construction. So it's maintaining that safety throughout the week and the weekends.
And I'll say it again because it's pretty important. This project that we did with all these similarities is the exact same team that you selected last week, Schinkel Schultz and Matern Engineering. The next one is Magnolia and Silver Pines Elementary School. This is an ESE campus, 2 different buildings that were replacing 2 campuses on one site. What this really showed us was how to transition plan as we move from one building to the other, and gave us those tools and those lessons learned of what makes that work, makes it seamless for the principal and her staff. And then you can see here some of the unique construction aspects we had on that project. On the left is some rooms we built that had the non-stimulating lighting, so really different lighting packages. On the right, you can see an agenda from a community meeting we had. So obviously, being an ESE campus, the parents and the grandparents were very consumed and excited about the project, so we held countless community meetings that CPPI was the lead presenter. So we understand how to do that and keep the community informed about our projects and excited about our projects. This letter is from a homeowner next door to that project. Our superintendent, Bill Atkins, was working one morning and looked outside the trailer window and saw an older gentleman trying to put up a wood fence that had fallen down on his property adjacent to our site. And Bill grabbed 2 assistant superintendents, and he went over that morning, and in a couple hours he got that fence put back up for that gentleman. And he sent us this letter really thanking us about how amazing that was, that he did that unsolicited, which is a great example of our sites. Those things that are on our coin was exactly represented in that act there. And in Winter Park High School, this is another project, 100-year-old school. All those same things, much like you've decided to do, that owner decided to have a year-long planning process to make sure we get it correct, a historic campus, multiple phases. And if you look at this, we started at a macro level. You can see in top right, we looked at the community and the dense community around this school. And then on the bottom right is an old picture of the school, like I said, almost 100 years old. So when you look at a 100-year-old building, back then they had smaller classrooms, obviously almost no technology. There weren't near the stormwater requirements we have now. So all those things had to be remedied on this Winter Park High School project. So when you look at things like adding technology to an existing building or underground exfiltration systems to make sure you have proper storm drainage, we did all that on this project. And what that does, it prepares us to do what you see here. Over the next 6 months to a year is do the master planning, work with Schinkel-Schultz, maintain the history, the feel of the school, and figure out the phasing and all those different things required to deliver a successful project. So when we get to master planning, this is where we really get involved with the architect. Kristen, like I said, just did this on Lawton Elementary School, so she knows how to get this done. Schinkel-Schultz will be putting together designs and showing you different designs. And what Kristen will do, and what she's great at doing, is giving the input from the construction manager standpoint. Where do we need to put the fence? How do we need to phase this? What's the most easiest way to do the constructability reviews? That's all the information that we're feeding to the plans, feeding Schinkel-Schultz that information to keep the kids safe during the build. That's exactly what Kristen just did on her previous project. That's what she'll do with Schinkel-Schultz. Chris Kramer, the minute I saw this project and saw how much planning and the complexities of it, I knew I needed to call Chris Kramer. He's a consultant that does just that, school planning and design. So decades and decades of experience, knows all the things that need to happen. A project he talked about was Edgewater High School with a lot of the similar components. And I asked Chris, I said, what made that job so successful as you went through the planning process? And what he said is they went out, they formed a committee, a construction committee, but they found the folks that were the most vocal out in the community, whether it be negative or positive. They went and got the most vocal folks in the community and put them on this committee. And then they spent the next 6 months making sure they got full consensus. So that made sure everybody was happy at the end of the day with the design they found. And that's how you do all these things here. Team charrettes, team alignment, stakeholder meetings. Again, getting that consistency and consensus amongst all your stakeholders. And here's some of the tools that Chris has developed. This is already in the book we submitted, but this is kind of the roadmap of where we're going to go. And this is kind of how we track it. This is the score sheet, if you will. The tasks are on the left, and then the 4 stakeholders on the right. This makes sure that we get all the tasks done and all the right people involved during the planning process to ultimately deliver the time frame we need, the tasks we need, and make sure we get all the input required from the stakeholders. And here's some of the things architects have said that have worked with CPPI. This is Patrick with Schinkel Schultz that presented to you last week that you selected. This is a reference from him that kind of closes with, we know when you select CPPI, we will be one team. Here you can see that another architect said CPPI has the whatever it takes attitude. BRPH, another positive reference from another architect. And then another positive reference, unique solutions for our clients, which we'll need on this project. The next slide is, we try to keep it fun and engaging as well, so the next slide is a software called Kahoot. It's an app-based program you can put on your phone. So what we've done in community meetings is everybody gets this app, Kahoot, and you can ask questions to the masses, the community out there. So people that normally might not speak up or tell you what they think or feel, they can put it into this app, and that'll crowdsource it. It'll bring that information forward. You could share it right there in the meeting. You can archive it for later use, but just a fun way to get community input.
Another easy tool to utilize is the school's already existing Facebook page. This is where I would work exactly with you, Mrs. Boardway, hand in hand, two-way interaction to receive data, but also give data back and keep not only ourselves up to speed on what's going on at the school, but also keep the school up to speed about what's going on with construction. But I'm not just about data, right? I don't just build, I also have to be part of your community, and that's exactly what we do. We've already gone and started to get involved with your community. We've partook with the Crafted Scented Bar. We also met some different residents throughout the community, and then we also visited some unique boutiques that are around your community as well, all saying to us that they are so excited with what is coming to Eustis Elementary School. I also met with Chief Mike Swanson, and he's an incredible man. And one thing that he reiterated numerous times while we sat down was just that Eustis does not have a storm facility or a storm shelter. These are the type of ideas that we can bring back to the design professionals and include potentially in your design for your new campus.
So as we've shown that we've done some benchmarking, right, and we're going to continue to do that benchmarking. With that, we create the elements that we need to seek and look for and provide for this project. The historic value of what this project brings, the facilities that are there, the cost, the budget, the layout of the properties, all at the heart of it is the students, right? So this is where we begin our process. When I was at the pre-proposal meeting, I asked a question to Principal Boardway about what she felt the needs were, and she stated some of it was, the bathrooms and the ADA accessibility of the project. The cafeteria needs to be bigger. So these, again, creating that dialogue and that information and transferring it to the new product that we're trying to produce here. Some of the other things that came up were the technology, providing interactive displays in the school, larger classrooms, as well as just looking at the existing facilities. We know that the playground is a dirt lot. We know that needs to be upgraded. We know that we need to look at the surroundings. We understand that there's no stormwater. We need to pursue that and look at that, as well as the historic value of the building and how do we preserve that.
So we know that cost is obviously a huge part of all of those study elements, right? And this is why we come in and we work hand in hand with your design team, me specifically with our pre-construction team. And along every step of the way, we work with them to develop cost estimates for every potential aspect and every potential plan that they present to you guys as a board. Another key element that we included is your maintenance department input. Many people don't understand that this is a huge aspect of it, but we don't just present you that upfront cost, right? We look at your life cycle cost, and that's where we work with your design team to provide long life cycle items and material and equipment that help your maintenance team maintain your buildings appropriately. And wrapping it all back together again is just honoring that legacy of Eustis. I just did this with Lawton Elementary School, as we said, another historic campus. One key element that we brought to that school was during our ribbon cutting, during our topping out ceremony, I actually invited the staff to come out to the field, grab a brick, fill it with a memento. They all did this. It was really great. And they actually physically mudded 3 sides of those brick and placed it on the building. So they will always be a part of that building for the next 100 years.
You know, a key part of this project is obviously understanding the surroundings and what we're dealing with, a residence that possibly could be purchased, that a partial closure of the road, Salem, to make a more cohesive site, better layout possibilities. All of these, you know, considering maybe some the retention on the site as well. We also discussed and talked to Reverend Renault about the possibility of parking during the construction phase, understanding his needs are on the weekends and ours are during the week. You know, here we took upon ourselves to do some drone footage of the site, and this was during you know, a pickup session of the school.
10 minutes.
You can see that this is the queuing of the cars, and it's actually on 4 different roadways, 4 streets in 4 different directions. It was something that we are going to consider in this process is how does this lay out on the new campus? If we can make it more cohesive to where this queuing does not cause this kind of backup in the community. You know, again, we understand that this property is kind of in the heart of this community, and in that heart we have the history, and we want to preserve that, and we want to be good stewards of that with our neighbors as well as the history of this project.
And then we talked a lot about, you know, the things we're going to do, but like Kristen said, cost is very important as well. And there's some, you know, it's obviously a very stressed construction market that we're in now, so we're seeing unprecedented cost issues. And so we've listed those on the left there. Some of the things that we're seeing, you know, obviously material shortages, so we got to do early procurement sometimes to get material in time. And then labor shortages, making sure we get the subs excited about your project. More subcontractor bidding means more competition, which means a lower GMP. So we've developed over the last few years since COVID different ways to overcome those impacts that the industry's seeing right now with such a stressed market out in the sub community.
Another key element to that is just efficiency for Lake County schools. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, I just did this at Lawton Elementary School. During the design phase and the pre-construction phase of this project, I worked hand in hand with both the district and the design team, your selected design professionals, to do a constructability of the existing campus and their existing power feeds. What does that mean is they wanted to design to limit down to just one sole power feed, where we recognize that, yes, there are 3 power feeds here already on campus, but they may be old, but they are very much usable. So what did we do? We refurbished them. And what does that mean? We gave back $2.2 million to the school, did not cut any scope of work, and then we also gave back 4 months on the project schedule overall for that project.
So yeah, that's pretty powerful. That one simple decision that Kristen and our pre-construction team made and presented to reuse that existing equipment was a huge savings for the school. Really great for the project because $2 million went back to the students for space and equipment they needed. And then I talked about the subs, getting the subs excited about bidding this project in a very stressed market. One of the other mechanisms we use is a detailed scope of work. Again, for each trade, we'll build the scope of work that you see here. We'll tell them exactly what we want them to include and not include. And what that means to us is that when they bid, there'll be no gaps and there'll be no overlaps. We don't want to buy anything twice. And all that leads to no change orders. Giving the subs confidence that they're bidding the right thing means they're going to sharpen their pencil, bid CPPI, bid for Lake County Schools, get more competition and a lower price.
You know, with the local element, obviously, I bring to the table, as well as Dale, the superintendent who lives in Lake County. We've provided a partial list of some of the subcontractors that we would be looking for on this project. This would, you know, the goal here is to exceed the 45% local participation. What does that mean? Lake County dollars stay in Lake County. And that is a huge goal of mine, as well as CPPI's. And one of the other things that I want to just kind of highlight, we understand the mechanism of the history and the renovation of possibly existing building. My company, we do renovations and commercial renovations. This is something that is our bread and butter. It's something that we do a lot of self-performance on, which entails would probably save some cost along the way when it comes to the renovation portion of this project through the entire budget.
And then we kind of wrap up with, about our staff one more time in CBPI. Again, school builder over almost 6 decades of building K-12 schools throughout the state of Florida. Here's your full org chart. We have a deep bench to make sure we're well covered. These are all the players that'll touch your construction during the pre-construction planning and construction phase. And then your core team is here. Teams with all this experience you see on the right. Dale Wicker sitting in the audience, superintendent's done countless projects here in Lake County, lives right next door in Mount Dora for decades. So he's that local guy that the subs know and want to work for, which again helps us get competitive when it comes to pricing.
And as I mentioned earlier, we get involved with your community.
5 minutes.
We already are involved. There are members of CPPI that already are part of your Chamber of Commerce. I personally serve on the Facilities Committee for Camp Boggy Creek, right down the road. And then I'm also a past president of NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Construction for the Greater Orlando chapter.
So a part of being a part of the community, obviously, I want to give back to the Lake County schools. I've been on the advisory board for South Lake High School construction. And, I think an element that we could bring to the school is possibly having the high school students visit this site as it's going on, bringing some of the kids from the school and kind of creating that legacy that continue that process through the construction, because it's passionate of mine, and I think it's a great part of Lake County schools.
And then we like to make it fun and engaging as well. This is part of our team participating in the Ladies for Education golf tournament for Lake County schools that we've done for several years. We won this last year. That's us giving money back to the different schools. And we won on the theme of Toy Story. You can see here our cars. And then here's all of us. I'm not going to tell you which one I am, but that's all of us in character. So we like to have fun. That was an amazing event. So we like to lighten it up as well. And then just to wrap up, we talked a lot about, the process, the planning process, which is going to be where we win or lose on this project. And we showed you that CPPI, with our partner, Chris Kramer, decades of experience, we just did this not exact project, but a very similar project with Schinkel Schultz and Matern, your selected design team. So we have the tools, we have the capacity, we have the know-how, the lessons learned, the cost data to give you what you're expecting, which is a great planning period to make sure the project, when we do build it, goes off smoothly and gives the community what they want, and of course the students' best interest at heart, and give them a great class. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions you might have.
All right. Wow, good timing.
Thank you. Mr. Mathias?
So in the photographs you showed, how much in each of those renovations in the most recent one, how much of the existing structure did you save?
Yeah, so we actually saved 5 buildings on that campus. And there were 4 buildings that did Castaldi out. We've already demolished 2 of them, and we'll finish the demolition of the next 2 at the end of this year.
And there was one slide saying that there was a need for an emergency shelter.
No.
Not necessarily a need, it was just an opinion from a member of your community.
The fire marshal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he said when we met with him, he just over and
Just
over
kept
kept
saying.
lighting up about the potential opportunity should you guys decide to do that. He was just very fired up about that potential. But we didn't promise him anything.
Well, I think we're already covered in Eustis, aren't we? We have shelters that are
In the
Eustis
area.
already,
We don't
right?
have,
Okay,
not in
that's-
Eustis proper. but
Right, I think
in
he
the
was
area.
speaking specifically to the city of
Yeah.
Eustis, yeah.
Yeah, they have to go to Seminole Springs or Brown Lake.
And Chris, what do you bring to the table here?
So I'm the local contractor. I've lived in Lake County most of my life. I went to the schools of Lake County, as well as I have a commercial construction company of 10 years in Lake County. I have a lot of subcontractors and relationships here. We do a lot of self-performance ourselves where it comes to concrete, drywall, painting. So a lot of that, when it comes to like a renovation process, we all know that the renovation cost of something is really high. With the labor that I have in-house, I think that we can bring that cost down to make it more feasible to save, the history of this project.
And the last question I have is, so y'all toured and spent time at the school, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
What did you think about the bones of it?
It's funny, when you look at the bones, you look at the porch and all the nice historical elements, but we balance that with, 100 years old, there's going to be deteriorating elements. But we talked about, with Paul and maybe self-performing, there are opportunities to maybe save the building, but definitely a lot of work to do with the storm and the infrastructure and the technology. A lot of decisions to be made.
That's all I have.
Mr. Dodd?
Well, I think you were hoping somebody was going to ask you about the coins.
I was.
I'll throw that one out there.
Thank you. So I'll tell the quick story because I know we got a little bit of time. But so Mr. Perry, our founder, 56 years ago, started up at the University of Florida and was trying to get in at the University of Florida and do their work. They were a big economic engine there. And there were really only 2 contractors back then doing major work in the area. And the athletic director came to both of them and said, I need a new scoreboard and I need it up before the first game. I don't have time to go through a selection process. I like you both. How do I pick? How do I pick between you who can do the scoreboard project? And Mr. Perry used to carry a Krugerrand in his pocket, a real one. These aren't real. But he pulled that out and he told the athletic director, it's okay with me if we just flip a coin. And we'll flip a coin, and whoever wins will install your scoreboard. And he flipped that coin 50-plus years ago, won, and has been working at the University of Florida ever since. So we felt like after his passing, it was pretty neat to take our core values, the sites, and put it on this coin. And you can stop any of us anytime. CPPI employees should have this coin in their pocket. And if they don't, they have to buy you lunch. So you get a free lunch if they don't have it in their pocket. So, so that'll be guaranteed that we remember those core values. Thanks for asking that question.
All right.
I was curious if you could go back to the slide. It doesn't have the slide name on it, but it was the one with the phase 1 schedule on it. It was really little, and I couldn't find my glasses this morning. It went really fast by, and I tried to look in here, but it's way too small in there.
Keep going.
It's Toy Story. This reminds me of the pig. Do you remember the commercials and the channels with the chicken? Okay. Thank you guys for being on the same page with me.
You're talking about these
Oh,
things
that-
here?
Yeah, yes, thank you. If I just can look at it really quickly. So you have some stuff in the bottom there, like where you have facilities condition assessment, laser scan the buildings for as-built conditions, program verification. That's where you'll have more decisions in regards to renovation versus demolition and rebuild, those types of things.
Right. Those are all the things we're going to do to help us make those decisions as it applies to schedule and cost. And it's a lot. It's a lot of things. And then, of course, I showed you this, which will track those things to make sure they happen. So at the end of that planning period, we've got all the right stakeholders and have made all the right decisions. And just as importantly, documented how we got to those decisions.
That's perfect. Thank you. If you leave it on here, I'm good. I just wanted to read through
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Mr. Brandyburg?
First of all, fantastic presentation. You guys put a lot of effort into that, and I appreciate it. Jason, you'd mentioned at one point that you guys had kind of worked on some different strategies after COVID for sub-procurement. Can you just touch on that at a high level, just kind of what you guys are doing there to really help drive that 45% goal and find the best subs, ideally local, but the ones that are going to do the best job for the students?
And so the first high level is we've partnered with Paul, who's local, been doing it in 10 years. So immediately doubled our pool of subcontractors. We also figured out subs are picking where they want to go, which jobs they want to work for. They're going to fill their coffers. They just got to figure out where they want to go to do that. So you want them to want to work for you. So the minute we're selected on a project like this, me and everybody on the team will start calling those subcontractors, hey, ESI, all the different stuff, and we say, hey, this project's coming. We're getting them excited about the project. So when the bid day does come, we're already on their bid board and they know about the project. And then we give them confidence that it's going to be a smooth project. I mentioned Dale, our superintendent's built countless projects here in Lake County. So the subs know him. They know it's going to be a safe, clean, and efficient project. So we make sure they know Dale's going to be the superintendent. And that gets them to want to bid us. And then more bids, obviously, drives that competition, drives down the GMP.
Perfect. Thank you. Last one for Paul. You mentioned that you guys may self-perform some work depending on the scope. Kind of like what kind of projects would your team look at self-performing?
So I can only speak to what we do. So we do a lot of demolition ourselves, concrete cutting, refurbishing. We've actually honed, wood beams before and put them in place to make them look old, to match existing. So we've done that kind of work before. We also do, we self-perform concrete work, drywall framing as well, painting, all setting doors to the middle, the little stuff, the doors and hardware to, for my business, punch list is a big thing. Usually requires a lot of effort at the end, so to get paid in a prompt manner. So all my guys do a little bit of everything. To capture that, so I'm not having to, if somebody missed something, we can address it. So a lot of that has part of the success of my business. Now, I did want to add, it's 10 years I've owned my own business. I've worked in Lake County for over 20 years in construction.
So again, fantastic job. Thank you guys.
Chairwoman, can I piggyback off the
Certainly.
discussion? Do you have any thoughts about where, I know you mentioned the Eustis High School Construction Academy and the teacher, Mr. Miller, was mentioned. Do you have any just ideas about where they might be useful in this project? I don't know if it would be with your team. Yes, sir.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. So I think most of my experience is coming from South Lake High School because of the committee that I helped there. So the reality is how much do you want them to be involved? I don't know that there's a nominal value there, but I think there is the historic value and the legacy that continues down the road. I think that is the value of bringing these kids a part of building something that's 100 years old that, we want them to know that 100 years from now, it's still standing.
For sure.
And sometimes it's just showing them and taking them on a tour and showing them the construction in progress is pretty impactful as well. We're trying to recruit more people in the construction industry, so that helps us do that.
Well, there's opportunity to align some of the curriculum that they're
Sure.
supposed to be learning
Yeah,
to that as
exactly.
well. So that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Just one question. I want to compliment you on actually going out and involving the community already. I'm just curious, though, how did you choose or select the community members that you engaged?
It was solely just meeting people. Holly herself is becoming a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Actually, she's already become a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and she's met individuals through that Chamber of Commerce. And we also have individuals that work on the Matern team that is part of the Shingle Schultz design team that you guys just selected that also live here. They are also on the Chamber of Commerce, so they're familiar with people here in the industry or the community, and then I'm a busy bee. I like to do things. I like to meet people. So
Didn't you start by making candles at a candle shop?
Yep.
I would ask that we extend that a little bit more in the community as we
Absolutely.
move forward so that we engage not just people who have affiliation with the chamber, but also have an interest in the school historically that may not be chamber or business members.
Correct. Whenever you select us, we will do everything that we can to really hone in on everybody in the community.
Well, thank you. It was an excellent presentation. I think you covered all the bases. Certainly, we know that you're well qualified, and we look forward to the outcome. Anything else from any other board members? With that, we'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Saw my face on the front. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, that's me. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, let's go over the ground rules. You will have 25 minutes to present, and then followed by 10 to 15-minute Q&A with the board. I'll keep time. I'll let you know at the 10-minute mark, 5-minute mark, and 2-minute mark. When you speak, either I'll give you this microphone, speak into this microphone, or that. Stay to this end of the conference room. Their request, the IT people. And this is the clicker that will move it, okay? Do you want a few minutes to introduce your team, or is it part of the presentation?
We can introduce ourselves first.
Okay.
It's in there, but at the end.
Okay.
Once you're done, I'll start the clock.
Okay. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jamie McCandless with DACG.
Shane Wolf, Project Executive, DACG.
Bobby Gilmer, DACG Project Manager.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Go.
So like I said, good morning. We stand here at a crossroads this morning of history and progress. Nearly a century ago, Eustis Elementary School saw its first students, an institution that witnessed generations of students, educators, and community change. As it approaches its 100th year anniversary, we have the unique opportunity today to not only restore its physical foundation, but reimagine its future. This restoration isn't just about preserving bricks and mortar, it's about breathing new life into the cornerstone of the Eustis community. We're going to address the criteria outlined in Phase 1 by demonstrating how our previous experiences highlight our approach on this project. So why DACG? It's simple. We bring solutions to challenges with a forward-thinking approach. We're a woman-led company that brings fresh perspectives and innovative ideas, breaking away from the traditional methods. Our leadership is focused on viable solutions that challenge the status quo, utilizing collaboration and adaptability. At DACG, we don't just think outside the box, we eliminate the box entirely. Our innovative phasing and partnership-driven mindset to every project ensure collaboration with full ownership interest from start to finish. We dive into the nuts and bolts of each project, taking a hands-on approach by self-performing key tasks that allow us to respond immediately when they're needed on site. We are committed to the communities we serve by constantly researching and developing better methods to minimize waste and ensure that every dollar is spent wisely. With DACG, you don't just get a contractor, you get a partner dedicated to delivering value, sustainable solutions, and a lasting impact. We believe in listening twice as much as we speak, ensuring that we truly understand the needs of the school, the designers, and all the stakeholders. Our dynamic approach to every project sets us apart and hasn't yet been replicated. Our team is deeply committed to understanding the intricacies of each construction project, diving into the details to explore innovative solutions. By fostering collaboration, constructability-focused solutions, we help guide informed decisions that lead the project to success. I've acquired valuable underground infrastructure information, as you see on the screen in front of you, from the city of Eustis and the surrounding neighborhood, from Mr. Michael Brisson, the Utilities Project Manager. It provided detailed insights on the underground utilities that feed Eustis Elementary School and the surrounding neighborhood. Why are these important, you might ask? First, by making sure what infrastructure the city has buried below the surface can actually accommodate what we're trying to build. These as-built drawings are available to anyone, but we made the effort to obtain them, did the research on them, and became a registered contractor in the city of Eustis. We're already a leg up transferring this information to you, Schinkel Schultz, and their design team. This is something we do on a daily basis, uncovering key utilities such as power, water, fire, and gas lines. These steps ensure that we have a comprehensive understanding of what's buried below this site infrastructure so everyone can make informed decisions. Our approach to underground exploration goes far beyond relying on blueprints and third-party vendors to verify these buried utility lines. We get this information immediately utilizing our own vacuum excavation techniques to expose these buried lines, a far less invasive way than traditional digging methods. Our personally owned equipment and team of highly trained professionals we have on staff are able to handle this process in-house, avoiding reliance on an overburdened labor and equipment market. We strategically made the investment in this equipment based on the needs of our clients. Once the utility lines are exposed and verified for size and the elevation, we verify the remaining lifespan of that utility. We check it for functionality, for shut-off, and most importantly, the shut-off valves that run them to determine if they, number one, work, or if new lines are needed, new valves. This will allow us to work on specific buildings on campus without shutting down the entire campus or potentially the entire surrounding neighborhood. These steps, although small in comparison to the overall project, ensure we are focused on accuracy, efficiency, and minimal disruption. We've also taken proactive steps in our historical preservation research. Paige Broderson, who's here today with us, our community liaison, and I are actively involved researching the city's Historic Preservation Board guidelines, attending a City of Eustis Historical Preservation Board meeting, which they hold every 6 weeks, where I must point out we were the only contractor in this solicitation to attend that meeting. We attend these meetings to gather information. Following the meeting, we held a conversation with Vice Chairman Mr. Marty Stamper to discuss potential first steps to support the city's preservation efforts should we be the selected contractor for this school. While Mr. Stamper recognized the city has no formal jurisdiction over the school board, he was very enthusiastic about the possibility of Lake County Schools preserving the original historic Spanish mission-style architecture of the original campus. While there, we also connected with several community members, including Mr. Dylan Shelton, a bordering neighbor of Eustis Elementary School on Lemon Avenue, who is deeply involved in the community and the city's historic preservation initiatives. We've taken proactive steps in gathering information to further our knowledge of Eustis history. We conducted a search of the National Registry of Historic Places and discovered Lake County is home to 31 nationally recognized sites, with 9 of those being located within the city limits. Remarkably, all of these historic sites are within a 1.5-mile radius of Eustis Elementary School, furthering the historical relevance this school has in the community. Through my extensive research, I also found that Eustis was once celebrated as the orange capital of the world and is now proudly known as America's hometown. Eustis has its own historical commercial downtown district, just 6 blocks from Eustis Elementary School, where our team plans to host subcontractor outreach events that serve 2 key purposes: promoting opportunities for small local businesses and supporting local shops in the process, just like we did at Fruitland Park Elementary School, where our team had an outreach event at the Fruitland Park Library, purchased food from a popular Fruitland Park staple, iBarbecue. That event was very well received and had standing room only. Where many of those small local vendors we connected with that day are currently working on projects for you all over this district. Our team actively engages in the communities we serve by utilizing small, local, privately owned businesses like Ace Hardware in downtown Eustis, where we currently purchase materials every day for our projects all over Lake County. Our leadership firmly stands behind putting the money back into these small communities. We also bring a deep understanding of historical influence through our extensive experience in restoration projects. Our skilled in-house craftsmen and women have had the honor of restoring many of Florida's most high-profile, nationally recognized structures. I mention this relevance on this hands-on experience because it adds a level of intricacy to our approach in our pricing and the execution of our work. I'm extremely proud of the career path that I chose, and as a 4th-generation craftsman and the 5th generation of my family currently working on Lake County campuses every day, we have a profound appreciation and respect for the meticulous detail required in historical construction projects. One of the main notable comparable examples is Al Capone's former Palm Island mansion, where we completed a large structural restoration featuring a colonnade-style entry feature just like Eustis Elementary School and a basement, which we successfully ensured did not leak when we left that project. But more importantly, it's our extensive research in occupied schools that brings you the significant value as we embark on Phase 1 of Eustis Elementary School. Our goal is to provide you with the defined details needed to make informed decisions of should we restore, build new, or perhaps a combination of both. And our expertise in both approaches was exemplified during our historical work at Crooms Academy of Information Technology, located in the historical Goldsboro district of Sanford, Florida, where in 2020, we faced a similar decision. We estimated the cost of historical restoration just north of $13 million and the newer option at $9.5 million. The newer option resulted in a substantial savings of over 30% in just the construction costs alone. Our team provided our client with all the information they needed to make an informed decision as to what they concluded as the best long-term financial decision, a newer campus, but still saving what was important to the community. They received a facility that we poured our hearts and souls into constructing. After construction, they had a more energy-efficient campus that cost less to maintain in the long run while still retaining the sentimental historical components that connected it to its past. We meticulously removed granite monuments, had them restored, and honored them with plaques as we cast them into the new structure. We extracted wooden slabs at a gymnasium floor, had them refinished, and then donated them to Miss Pasha Baker, the curator of the Crooms Historical Museum, where they remain on display to this day. We went above what was expected when we found an old piano buried in a closet, sent it off to get refinished, had it tuned. We didn't do that in-house because we don't have those people. And then we had it repaired, then gave it to the foundation where they could utilize it as a fundraiser to auction off for their school. Again, not a requirement. We recycled the concrete on site from a demolished building and utilized it as ground cover in the ice plant. Like I mentioned before, our founder strongly believes that we be different and help everybody. So prior to demolition, we invited all the surrounding municipal police and fire departments in all of Seminole County to train in these old structures. This specialized training provided them with an invaluable experience as they don't get to do this every day in these older structures, as historical buildings are built differently, react differently to fires and structural despair than the current newer constructions that they consistently train in. This is completely eliminate the box thinking that positively supports our communities. Our standard way of doing business preserves history, not only preserves history, it enhances community safety and fosters engagement.
I'm proud to say DACG has successfully completed 75 projects for Lake County Schools, 30 on active campuses, providing expertise in constructability, budget, and schedule analysis. We are not only very familiar with Lake County Schools, but also Eustis Elementary School, having finished a project there this past summer. We believe that this quote summarizes our current and future relationship with Lake County Schools. Past performance is the best indicator of future success. DACG is excited about your choice of Shingles Schultz and its outstanding engineering team. As a former Shingles Schultz employee, I'm well versed in the demands of a construction manager in Phase 1 master planning. From my experience in working with several construction management firms, I can say with full assurance that DACG consistently delivers superior service. With 100% retention, our reputation is built on trust, respect, and consistently exceeding expectations.
Now, during Phase 1, our primary objective is to support the design team by becoming an extension or a leg of their organization, and I will personally be doing this work. I'm committed to rolling my sleeves up, getting my hands dirty, digging holes, cutting holes in walls, and doing whatever it takes to conduct a thorough investigation of this campus. Our findings will be detailed, meticulously documented, and promptly communicated to all the design team. We'll deliver pricing exercises at every stage throughout this process to mitigate over-design while striving to adhere to your budget. Our approach includes providing options and alternatives for value management while identifying potential challenges we know are going to surface along the way. We excel in this arena by spearheading innovative alternatives, and as a testament to our dedication, we received a commendation from former well-respected Lake County Schools employee, Mr. Dave Parker, who expressed his appreciation for us and our ability to provide solutions on numerous projects for you at no direct benefit to us. The initial conversations we held on site have not fallen on deaf ears, Ms. Boardway. As we walked the hallways in this site, In Building 1, Ms. Boardway articulated several key needs, including kindergarten restrooms, improved play areas that currently consist of sand pits, the necessity of relocating classrooms to a more permanent space instead of a portable, concerns about classroom sizes, inadequate parking for large events, and the lack of restrooms for administration and need for technological upgrades. However, amidst all these requests, one message stood out: the importance of prioritizing the children, something we stand strongly behind. Ms. Boardway emphasized that the kids must come first, as they are the core reason for all of our efforts. From what I've gathered about Ms. Boardway, she has a highly flexible staff and, in her words, make things work. I've worked alongside many principals in my career, and she embodies the leadership needed to navigate a construction project from her side successfully. And this is not new territory for us. We've been revolutionizing this process on like Phase 1 for decades. A great example of this is Ms. Boardway's alma mater, Oviedo High School, where she graduated in 2006. Yes, we've done our homework. I had the privilege of working alongside another exceptional leader, her principal, Mr. Robert Lundquist. Together, we implemented similar initiatives on a 100-year-old 40-acre campus serving 2,600 students, and we executed that plan flawlessly. In the end, I forged a lasting relationship with Mr. Lundquist, and almost 20 years later, we stand on the sidelines at Friday night football games together. He even dedicated a clock tower in the center of that courtyard to me. Not many contractors can claim that kind of connection.
Back before I had gray hair and Jamie had hair, I had the privilege of working with Jamie for the first time several years ago on a complex, logistically challenging project that required close coordination with an active community. Like Eustis Elementary School, this school was at its 100-year mark. Construction was required to take place while the school with over 2,000 students was fully occupied. Jamie and I took the lead on collaborating with the owner, designers, and engineers to create phase drawings and allowed construction to commence without disrupting existing systems, ensuring student and staff safety. I'm proud to say we successfully completed that project on time and within budget. Throughout the design process, our strategy will not only include preserving key historical features, but also phasing the construction plan, minimizing disruption in school and community, along with implementing comprehensive operational safety. Within the design workshop, DACG will play a critical role in assuring the project's design is both feasible and efficient from a construction perspective. Our key responsibility is to unify the design with construction. Having had the privilege of going to several of these workshops, one that stood out the most was Lyman High School with Seminole County Public Schools. The reason why it stood out the most is we invited local subcontractors to be part of these design workshops, which received really good feedback from all parties.
We understand we are only visitors on your campus. As PM, my role is supporting all parties during design, and I will help with timeline, phasing, investigation, and constructability. We want to ensure our plans after design are being communicated in a way that everyone is informed. We will incorporate our schedule with the schools and communities' calendars. We will work closely with the building department as I have in the past and in present time. Our relationship with Lake County Building Department will streamline the final steps in receiving a building permit, along with multiple phasing and safety plans. They will expect safety logistics plans in every phase of the project. From a safety standpoint, we will provide the plan to the district on our protocols and work with the school to ensure we are meeting their standards and expectations. We can adapt to their needs and enforce the strict guidelines that everyone will follow. Notably, we use a Bluetooth locking system on an occupied campus of this nature. The principal and the district project manager will have access to an app that will allow them to see when and where any of our site gates are open at any time we're on the project.
Every single dollar matters. This is why we will be providing cost alternatives and value management early within the design of Eustis Elementary School, which will help you make better decisions as a client. in the master planning phase. We have done this successfully on relatable past projects. Fruitland Park, we provided 27 alternates for a cost savings of $700,000. Castleberry Elementary School, 35 alternates for a cost savings of $1.2 million.
And we pay meticulous attention to the details that truly matter. Like I mentioned before, we're a woman-led company, and she gives us no other option. For instance, we recognize the proclamation on the front wall of Eustis Elementary School when you walk in the front door that states October 23rd, 2004 was officially proclaimed Eustis Elementary School Day by the city of Eustis. A small yet significant piece of the extensive knowledge we have about this site. We understand the large immediate needs of the school, but I find it equally important to consider its foundational elements that make it operate on a daily basis. For instance, the electrical gear found in Building 1 is a critical concern. These breakers that power this school were manufactured by Bulldog Electrical Products, a company founded in 1902, which was later purchased by ITE Circuit Breaker Company in the 1960s, absorbed by Gold Company in 1973, and finally purchased by Siemens USA in 1983. They are all outdated. They cannot accommodate future expansions, and they're no longer produced. Thus, replacing this electrical switchgear is an absolute necessity, regardless of any of the design options we all ultimately choose. And I emphasize this because electrical switchgear significantly affects a project timeline. It's the single component we're waiting on for Fruitland Park Elementary. Like, for instance, our team, the one standing in front of you today, proposed for this project, was given an opportunity by you to build the new 100,000 square foot campus at Fruitland Park in less than 10 months. We're 8 months in, and we're going to obtain that. They're doing it and exceeding everybody's expectations in the process. I relate this to you because we pay special attention to every detail, no matter how small. On June 4th of this year, Jim O'Neill with your risk management team was referred to us by your very own building department to address a 46-item report to make accommodations to the Eustis ADA enhancements. Realizing the urgency of the situation, our team evaluated our resources and committed to the project within 24 hours, immediately springing into action for a client in need. We conducted a site walk that day with your maintenance personnel, risk management team, and building department to assess the needs on that report. We reached out to design professionals and subcontractors specifically equipped to handle a project like this immediately. And within a 4-week period, we were under construction, provided permitted design drawings to your building department, and had all the necessary materials in hand to complete that job. Initially, the 46 items quoted on that were quoted on an as-each basis, totaling around $474,000. But through a review with your team that included the what-if scenarios, we successfully reduced that cost to $180,000. Once construction commenced, we were further able to mitigate any extra work, bringing the final cost down to below $200,000. This case study exemplifies our commitment to swift action and ensuring we met the critical needs of that student and you as a school district. At the end, we were very happy to see the smile on that parent's face when she walked it when it was completed before school started.
As you can see on the slide, there are several estimating techniques that we utilize. Important to point out, each of these techniques are used throughout the design process, from design conceptual to construction documents. But how do we track this information that is being discussed at each stage of the project? We prepare a comprehensive bid manual that documents decisions and discussions that were made at each stage of the design. This helps you, as the client, know how and why we got to where we are. We measure the dollars associated with all the design options that are going to be presented to you for this project. Design and engineering, analyzing the existing structures, code compliance, materials, labor, unexpected costs. These are all things that we consider during the design. We provide our own in-house estimates and takeoffs, where we rely on historical and current data that we constantly update internally. This is a game changer because it helps you as the client make informed decisions quickly instead of us relying on subcontractors to get back to us. But just how accurate are we with these in-house cost estimates? Industry average is 15 to 30%, whereas DACG is 1 to 2% accuracy at GMP.
Our team's combined experience spans decades, working with hundreds of clients on thousands of projects worth billions of dollars. During this time, although we couldn't change the direction of the wind, we have mastered the art of adjusting our sails
2 minutes.
to move forward for our clients. This adaptability and resilience has been crucial in our success, overcoming challenges and delivering exceptional results. Our team that's proposed to you is 100% immediately available to work on this project and begin. I'm Jamie McCandless, and I can assure you I have the skills, grit, and the want to perform this job for all of you. I'm built for this. I will take personal ownership of any task assigned to me or my team. That is my promise to you. I will not give up, and I will wear your decision today like a badge of honor while I represent each and every one of you. I want this project. My team and our families need this project.
Shane Wolf, I'll be the project executive. My role will be paying attention to the project framework, making sure from project initiation to project closure, the team stays focused on their deliverables.
Collier Mullins, who's our pre-construction manager, who is historically known for giving extremely detailed estimates to our clients and documenting everything meticulously and giving you all these cost alternatives. Bobby Gilmer, our project manager. We feel strongly having the project manager that runs the job involved from the very, very beginning, so there's no loss in translation when the project is turned over to you, or to the construction team. Our current workload, we have no problems meeting your schedule. We'll make this project fun, including your students all along the way, Ms. Boardway, with groundbreakings, T-shirt design contests, morning announcement updates, time capsules to historically, bring this campus. Our goal is to give this school, your staff, and the community the attention it deserves. I hope this presentation has answered all your questions, and we've enjoyed getting to know the Eustis community and what it's all about. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
11 seconds to spare.
Mr. Mathias?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
So with all the time you spent and all the research, what do you think about the bones of the school?
It all depends what we want. It's got a concrete structure, the basement. Basements can be, the basement I had mentioned was on a waterfront in Miami, and we had to excavate it out and waterproof it from the outside. A division of our company is a waterproofer, so stopping the water is not an issue in my eyes. The historical relevance, it's the cost, but we're going to provide you with all the information to make that decision. It needs work, but I think we are the company to give you the information to make an informed decision.
And then share with me how you envision the process. So you spend a lot of time on the infrastructure and what's going on. You have Schinkel Schultz over here.
Yes, sir.
Immediately, do you see yourself reaching out to them to share what you've already determined?
Absolutely. I mean, we do this for Schinkel Schultz, Cleveland Weeks, Matern Engineers every day. We're the company they all call to get the information. We don't have to wait on a subcontractor that we got to call to see their availability. We do this in-house. We're experts in this. We take the footprint of the building, we'll lay it out, see where it fits, if we need to move it or adjust it, but we're going to look 10 steps further to see if the water to make the fire the fire lines is big enough to accommodate it, or if we need to go into the city's infrastructure to make these adjustments. We're equipped for this type of process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've got a lot of experience, and I think you addressed this also in terms of this crossroads between the historical preservation and, the cost of new construction, for instance. You're aware of the budget for this particular project, I assume, and so, what are some hunches on how much historical preservation you'll be able to maintain, or how much, historical integrity you'll be able to keep and keep us in budget?
Ultimately, we're going to provide you with that information. Building the building, obviously, the faster we do it, the more savings we're going to save you in the general conditions, which is our management cost and our team that's out there. But you have a principal who's very well versed at who wants this done very badly. And we work with the principal almost like they're part of the construction team on occupied campuses, of all the events, all the things that go on. In building these buildings, we're all going to get pretty much the same price. It's our expertise and our plan and the way we implement that where you're going to recognize the saved money and the dollars saved. Go ahead. I don't know if I clearly answered your question.
We're very familiar with Schinkel Schultz design. They're 2-story classroom buildings. They have a couple different choices. So I see, to answer your question, I see us kind of leading hand in hand, leading the charge in this and bringing up recommendations. With Jamie and I's experience with Shingle Schultz, me working there, I know how they work, I know their processes. So us working together and saying, hey, what about the ILC building? Can that, let's look at maybe placing that here, 2-story classroom building. Let's preserve this area. I think, that's the key part of those design workshops that we're working together. And that's why I brought up inviting local subcontractors. I mean, the input that they had, I hadn't been a part of those before where we had local subcontractors. And it was just such positive feedback where, we're not electricians. I mean, we have a general, but when you bring them in, they can say, hey, we can preserve this. We can help out with that. So I think it's important to include our relationships, in those design workshops. And I think a lot of that will be worked out. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it gives a little bit of a glimpse. Certainly, I'm just kind of thinking through that. All the presentations we hear certainly include a lot of experience and background with historical preservation, things of the sort. But we also know the cost that's associated with that, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess I just don't want to get my hopes up on all this historical preservation side of things, and then in reality you get in and say, well, actually that's not really feasible.
Well, it's also the type of construction you want to do. This campus isn't conducive to tilt-up wall construction just because of the room and the aspect.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But we're in the theming business also. We can make any job look like anything you want by creating the facade. We could do a CMU building with interior insulated, interior insulation and drywall, but we can make the exterior look like the Spanish Mission style construction that's currently there. We can accommodate to get the look you want by still saving some of the aspects of that campus. I know the colonnade at the beginning is Ms. Boardway's favorite, as I think a few others. That portion of the building, if we were to look at it, would be a portion that we could potentially save.
It certainly is iconic.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the important part to point out too is that we have the ability to self-perform that, where you don't get double markup on that, where as other contractors would have to rely on another subcontractor to come in and give their expertise and all of that. I think that's a huge, cost savings for you guys.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for a very thorough presentation, but I did want to mention whenever I heard Mrs. Boardway received a student that we weren't in compliance, that work was done quickly over the summer. So I know she appreciates it. From an outside perspective, it was pretty spectacular, the time frame that it took to get it in compliance for that student. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. Brandenburg?
Another excellent presentation of the DACG team. Thank you guys for what you've done, especially at Fruitland Park. You guys had a tight timeline, as you mentioned, and walking through that process with you guys and talking to Dave and his team earlier, you guys fit on everything so far. So you guys truly mean what you say and say what you mean, and you back that up, and I appreciate that about you guys. My only question, kind of building off what Mr. Mathias was saying about really more on the underground utility exploration side, you mentioned that you were reviewing the existing infrastructure to see how it could handle. What did you determine so far, especially with us looking to potentially expand the student stations of this school? Can that infrastructure handle it? What else? What have you determined through some of that pre-work so far?
So there's 10-inch water mains that feed the school. On the schools that we're currently building now, they want a loop system, and 10 inches kind of on the minimum side.
Okay.
But with the student stations that are currently there and the ones you want to accommodate to, around 750, that's what we see other schools, that's the stub out that's feeding other schools. So we feel confident about that.
Okay.
We're going to have to perform flow tests once we get into it, but for this, I don't think if we went that far with our investigation, it
Sure.
might have been breaking a few rules, so we're not there yet.
Understood.
But the bones that are buried for what we feel right now can accommodate what you're trying to achieve.
Nice lapel pins, by the way.
I think one of the things that we were trying to do in our research also was, knowing that the children are going to stay on campus, where do we need to install valves so we can keep the campus up and running and all of that. So, yeah, the phasing.
The phasing is going to be big. So with the infrastructure, depending on where we're tying in and where we need to end, that would be contingent of phasing and how we turn it over. I mean, it all has to make sense at the very end, so we're not disrupting the school during the process.
Don't have any questions, but I have to tell you, I am very impressed by the amount of work you were willing to do to learn things about the community and the school. And I especially identify and like you're stating we don't just think outside the box, we destroy the box. I like that. Thank you very much for your time and your interest.
Thank you.
As always, great presentation.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Because when we're rolling, you want 5-minute break?
Anybody need a break?
Or we can go on either way.
We're good.
You good?
Yep. We're losing Mr. Farnsworth, but we're great.
It's good to see you.
Tyler, your phrase, he said according to Tyler, it's about the details.
Wow, look at that.
Tyler 2024.
Morning.
I'm gonna have to step out for the Zoom meeting at 11 if that's okay. I'm gonna have to leave at 11 to do the hurricane Zoom meeting. I was thinking, that's my boss.
She said no.
She said no.
I said, no, she needs to go to the 11 o'clock, yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, you want to introduce yourselves first, or is your introduction built into the
I
presentation?
think we have it baked into
Okay.
the presentation.
Perfect. 25 minutes to present.
Okay?
I'll let you know at the 10-minute mark, 5-minute mark, and then 2-minute mark. And then I'll kick you out of here.
One question.
Yes.
Is this presented in front of them on the computer screen?
Yep.
We have it here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just want to make sure.
Yes. So when you speak into the microphone, please, I'll give you this clicker. It works. So I'll let you know when the time starts,
Okay.
and you may begin.
So good morning, everyone. We're here to present on the Construction Manager at Risk services for the Eustis Elementary School. I'm Jim Clean, and for those of you who do not know me, I have served as the project executive for the Mineola K-8 project, as well as the Aurelia Cole project. Alongside my work here at Lake County, I've had the opportunity to work with Orange County Public Schools on a variety of projects. Most recently, the Lakeview Middle School project, which has a historical component, so it aligns with this job. The primary building was built in 1927. We're renovating 10 buildings while it's occupied, in addition to doing some renovations on the site work. So again, it aligns very well with this project, has a lot of similarities. In addition to that, my background stems from Central Florida down to South Florida. I was fortunate enough to work on 2 projects down there in the same time frame, the same era of the 1920s. One was a renovation that borderlined a restoration. It was a very significant project because both of these schools were the original Palm Beach County schools as Palm Beach County grew and was initiated. So the other project was an actual renovation and a rebuild. It was an occupied campus. They were both very compact and tight sites. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm excited to work on this one because, again, it somewhat aligns with the Eustis Elementary School project. So speaking of history, I'd like to take a moment and acknowledge the fact that you're coming up on your 100th year anniversary or birthday. So again, what a great milestone to achieve, and we're excited for you. So it's an early happy birthday.
Great for everyone.
Yes, exactly. Indeed. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Andy Duthie, our Director of Pre-Construction.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. As Jim mentioned, I'm Andy Duthie. I'll be your pre-construction manager. I've specialized in pre-construction and estimating my whole career. I'm supported by a staff of 22 other professionals fully dedicated to planning projects, and looking forward to working with you on this one.
Hold on to this. Good morning. My name is Cass Hurst, and the experience I bring is 31 years in program management. 17 of those years on K through 12 building programs, Spent 6 years between Palm Beach County and Miami-Dade schools, and up until recently, 11 years at Orange County Public Schools. I've sat on your side, and I understand the steps involved in a successfully planned project.
Thanks, Cass. So this is our team for the upcoming Phase 1 effort. The percentages represented on this slide is the allocation of our resources during this phase. And now I'll introduce everyone. Obviously, you've just met Cass Hurst. He's our program management planning guru. We're going to rely on his decades of experience working on the owner side with several school districts and other entities. We also have Dominic Giannini. He's here with us today. He is our local partner, and he is going to head up our community engagement. Obviously, that would be behind the facilities department because, again, we are going to complement that effort. We have Andy Duthie, who you just met. He's going to lead our pre-construction efforts, again, alongside this robust 23 pre-construction personnel department. The workload is not an issue for us when we have such a robust department. So again, we look forward to running that through. And bear in mind, too, with all of that experience, we have folks like Joe Schmidt and James Maniette with over a combined 75 years of experience. That ensures that you're receiving timely information so that you can make informed decisions. We also have Ariel Rolone. He's our senior project manager. He's actually worked on the Aurelia Cole project as well as this Mineola K8. A great resource. His operations experience is going to be a significant contribution to the constructability reviews as well as the logistics. And my role is to oversee the entire Phase 1 from the Wharton Smith side. It'll ensure that our team is collaborating with all of the stakeholders and everybody, even in this room. It'll allow us to have a successful transition to that next phase, the design phase. So, as part of the assessment for this project, the campus assessment, we understand what properties are owned by Lake County. We know that there's roughly 4 acres on the main campus with just under 2 acres adjacent to the campus. So during the master planning phase, our goal is to build a strong partnership with you, strong partnership with the design team, strong partnership with the school's leadership so that we can engage with the school staff, the community, and any other stakeholders that are involved in the design process. This ensures that we're capturing and we're considering everything as we walk into the planning phase. We also have had the opportunity to walk the site. We've run into the one neighbor, Carl, the private residents. We've also reached out to folks within the local chamber. We're trying to get insight as to what's the best plan moving forward. Next, for context, we have the Hillcrest Elementary School project, which we completed. This is very similar in size to the current Eustis campus in that it's just under 4 acres. A tremendous effort was made on this project because of the tight campus to ensure that we incorporated as many elements as possible that they needed for the campus. So as part of this project, it was determined that by Castaldi and through some comprehensive studies, that the one structure you can see in the upper right-hand corner was to remain and be renovated. So also as part of that design process and planning process, they had to figure out how are they going to incorporate the other remaining elements that are crucial to the site, which was stormwater retention. We installed underground stormwater retention on this site, as well as a multi-level, 2-level parking garage. We wrapped the building, the existing building, with a series of other support buildings and classroom buildings, which required considerable consideration for all the construction activities on this site. We wanted to make sure it was a safe and productive environment for not only both the school, but for the community. Ultimately, the project was a huge success, and the principal and the students are very pleased, as are we. Again, it was a great project. And along with our experience, we also bring a unique skill set in providing innovative approaches to this project and to any project. Given the historic nature of this project, we aim to explore every option to honor the legacy of Eustis Elementary School. One way that this can be achieved is through preserving facades or walls or key architectural elements. This approach preserves the building's character and historical significance while keeping it connected to your community. Another option is to replicate some of these key architectural features. For example, this main entrance colonnade is a very unique and beautiful feature. It's very welcoming to visitors. That is something you may want to consider if you can't save it, replicating it. We also have the ability to salvage and reuse materials. We've been successful in doing so, things such as bricks and lumber and windows. Anything that has that historical significance, we want to make sure we consider, because everything needs to stay on the table until we get to a point where we understand the full scope of work and we understand the cost involved. So this is actually a very great example of preserving a piece of history. This is First United Methodist Church. Through extensive collaboration with the city, the membership, the community, they wanted to maintain this elevation. And in doing so, they beautifully integrated it with a 33,000 square foot, 3-story building. I mean, the result is absolutely stunning, and it also meets the needs of the building, of the owner, to provide them with a functional facility. And then in turn, it maintains that history within the community. Again, it was another success for the team and for the city and the owner. And I briefly touched on the underground stormwater storage on the Hillcrest project. On the Lakeland Community Building that we're working on now, this was the same scenario. The owner wanted they wanted a larger building footprint. They wanted a larger building. Well, it reduced the amount of acreage that they had to install things such as playgrounds and green spaces and parking. So ultimately what they ended up doing was keeping that building footprint at what they desired, and we installed this underground system. While the cost of underground storage, traditionally can be a little bit more, it can sometimes be offset by not having to purchase additional properties to install traditional retention. Also, there is a tendency sometimes with traditional retention that's less aesthetically pleasing because sometimes it results in a feeling of some unused space. And given the neighborhood, again, we want to make sure we're looking at both of those options. All in all of these examples that I've presented today are just a fraction of our experience and what type of contributions we make to this process. We look forward to bringing this kind of balance to the Eustis Elementary School project. And I look forward to any questions that you might have during the Q&A based on these examples and based on our experience. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Cass.
So as we look at the slide, what we see are the trusted partners we've had the privilege of working with over many years, and these partnerships begin with you, Lake County Schools. You've been a client of ours for 13 years, and thank you. Congratulations on selecting Schinkel-Schultz as your next architect. They're a firm we're very familiar with, very comfortable with working. We've worked with Schinkel-Schultz since, for 16 years now, completing over 20 projects, totaling $1.1 billion. We currently have 2 high schools under development, one in Osceola County and the other in Marion County. So our leaderships, our culture, they align, and what that means for you is we're ready to go from day one. And how are we going to support Schinkel-Schultz? How are we going to support the process? Well, that begins with collaboration with not only Schinkel-Schultz, but you, the board, the individual department stakeholders that have a vested interest in this, Principal Boardway and her staff. We're there to participate in some of the charrettes, all the charrettes and community engagements. I have personally stood shoulder to shoulder with Schinkel-Schultz on more than a dozen community meetings during my time at Orange County Public Schools. We're there to organize a fiscal situation without steering the process. We're still a bit of a wet blanket, a reality check along that way, but we're there to categorize various options, price them, and then look at how they impact the school operationally should they become reality. Last week, you guys folks were presented with various options that showed new construction on the other side of Salem. That involves vacating all or a portion of Salem. We know that you have water, sewer, and gas there. And so one of the early steps will be us meeting with utilities to determine what the next steps would be for rerouting those utilities. We're also there to help identify and coordinate the due diligence, depending on the various options. Should you acquire different property that may trigger a phase one environmental survey, floodplain surveys, boundary surveys, and any time you demolish a structure or renovate a structure, you're going to be required to do HERA surveys, and that's really the environmental studies looking for lead paint and asbestos. It is, have we looked at everything, all the options, such as renovation or replacement of Building 1? Have we looked at acquiring possible parcels? Have we looked at all the options? Have we priced them? Have we evaluated what they mean for the school? And then when it's time to be accountable for those decisions, it helps us communicate to you, and it helps the team communicate to the community as to how we ended up with the ultimate decision of where Eustis Elementary School is headed. And on the far right side of, we'll call it a spreadsheet, we'll have a column which tells you what the cost of a new greenfield elementary school would be on an off-site. So you always have that comparison. You asked that we convey our experience with performing campus assessments. It is about harnessing technology. I'd like to brag that we have a VDC department, that's virtual design and construction, of 11 folks. A year ago, there were only 5. Next year, there will be 16. It's a testament to the investment we're making as a company to make our architects and our owners to serve you folks better. And we'll just throw out an example here. This is West Riviera Elementary School in Palm Beach County. This was a school as it looked a few months ago before demolition started. And Jim, we'll go to the next slide. And so we're harnessing the existing while looking toward the future. So we're able to overlay the civil drawings here and take a look at all the utilities as they may come into the site, or the chilled water lines that route around the campus, making sure we're using that to our advantage in the planning aspect. We'll go to the next slide. And this is a school as it exists today. The building to the right, I hope it's your right, it will be your right, is a cafetorium. And the building to the left that remains is a media center. So per Castaldi, those two buildings remain. There's a little appendage north of that cafetorium that's still to be demolished. But what we're able to do is again overlay these civil drawings, capture any changes that have happened between months ago and today, make sure that we're coordinated, locating those valves, making sure that we have right slope and distance to the manholes, and then capturing the existing and looking toward the future. And the next slide is the interior of that same cafetorium building. We're able to pick a point inside that building and import the Revit models here and look at what that space will look like in the future. In this example, it looks like the architect and engineers have a floating ceiling type concept with exposed utilities. Folks smarter than me are able to zoom in on that and look for conflicts. So again, that's present, looking to the future.
10 minutes past, we're at
yeah.
8-minute level right now. 8 minutes, I'm sorry.
Great, thank you. More technology. This is a 3D camera tracked by GPS, and this was on our brief visit to the campus some weeks ago. The camera's sort of meandering through the campus, and at any time, I can click on a point in that blue line and see what the camera's seeing. And each of these arrows and circles represents a photo that camera took. Great for documenting our existing conditions. And then more technology. This is our drone. We own a number of drones. The software it's using is called Drone Deploy. This is a quick fly around the campus. Once you select us, we're going to go into depth with this camera, follow a prescribed path, and then start to map out the building. And if you do slow down the drone and really do this in earnest, it will shoot down a point cloud, millions of little dots that pick up the elevation of every structure on the site. Then from that, we're able to build a 3D model of the site, use that for planning purposes. We can take measurements from that and and possibly see what sort of drainage challenges we may have around the building. So just more technology. And so that captures the campus assessment part and where we stand today. But again, looking to the future, where do we hope to be in 2 or 3 years? And that is a Eustis Elementary School that's modern. And that means appropriately sized classrooms with all the latest technology, a hardened campus with one point of entry, restrooms in all the primary grade classrooms, centralized administration, not hidden in basements or in portables, an ADA compliant campus from top to bottom, and spaces that support your ESC programs and the student needs, improved and expanded stacking bus and parent drop-offs, cafeteria and media center that are useful after hours, events separated from the rest of the campus, and in general, and playfields, can't forget the playfields. And in general, a modern, more economical, forward-leaning campus capable of serving your school district for decades to come, possibly 100 years to come.
You asked us about our cost estimating techniques. To accurately manage cost estimates, we utilize software such as drone technology, as Cass was just describing. We use these to record existing grades of the site. We use the existing grades to start planning early the site work. It helps us develop plans to see if the site can be raised to improve drainage, where buildings, parking, storm detention, playgrounds can be best located. Our database of projects helps guide our pricing expectations and helps us project accurate budgets. Our subcontractors and suppliers are very helpful in giving advice on affordable materials and equipment. We track the long lead times on our current projects so that we can more accurately schedule and plan for the early release of equipment if needed. Cost tracking of our projects helps us to more accurately predict project costs that are 12 to 24 months away from starting. Stark Elementary in DeLand is a similar project that is shown here. This is a recent aerial of the existing campus with the new construction occurring just to the bottom left. It was originally built in 1956 and is surrounded by residents on a tight 88-acre site. During the master planning, it was determined a new school would be best to meet the needs of the students and staff. We are excited that you are selecting your construction manager very early to assist you in evaluating your options, your needs and wants, and making the best decisions for your future. We have a lot of experience in presenting the options at the conceptual stage. We have subject matter experts in site work, structure types, drywall and finishes, mechanical, electrical, and low voltage systems. I particularly enjoy analyzing the various structure types that maximize value and schedule. The building options will be driven by the property available to build on. We have already started to analyze what options are available if more land is purchased. We have 23 full-time pre-construction professionals dedicated to planning successful projects. We have the staff ready now to fully commit to the planning of your project. At Stark Elementary, we'll be reclaiming bricks from the original school and sharing them as memory keepsakes with the community. Many of these residents went to school there years ago. Stark was budgeted at $36 million. Throughout the design development, it came in at $390 per square foot, 88,000 square feet, 650 students, with all new facilities, playgrounds, and play courts. The constructability reviews continue to refine the design and maximize value. Value management options are considered early and refined as the design develops. Experienced planning has saved millions of dollars on Lake County schools, and we will continue to provide this level of value to you at Eustis Elementary.
Thanks, Andy. So in summary, and hopefully your scores, I hope we've conveyed that Wharton Smith is the most experienced contractor and construction manager that's come before you today, which is going to add value to your project. I hope we've highlighted the benefit of our 16-year relationship with Shingle Schultz and how that's going to enhance the process. I hope we've demonstrated our commitment to using best-in-class technology and past project experience for campus assessment, aligning with your needs. I also hope that we've conveyed specific examples of our cost estimating experience to ensure you can make informed decisions when that time comes. I hope we've showcased our staff's experience and how our robust team is equipped to handle the workload of this project. And I hope we've shared examples of projects where our early involvement proved effective. So again, we've been your proven partners now for several years, and we would ask that you select us because experience matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Mathias?
Yeah, thank you. This is really for my edification. So you showed a slide and you were doing the underground retention. Is there then, are you then deciding if that's in a parking lot? I mean, can you build a pot on top of underground retention?
Yes, parking and site space.
Mainly, yeah, right? Okay, good. All right. That's all I really wanted to ask. Y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, so certainly you've done a number of projects for us, and I bet, as you talk about the experience mattering, you've probably had some discoveries along the way. What would you think is probably the most valuable discovery that you've had from working with us that you think would contribute to your success on this project?
Well, I can honestly say that the ease of working with the district. We've gone through and we've had challenging situations on many projects, but the collaboration effort from the district and the design teams that you select allow us to work through some of these issues with relative ease. It also allows us to really, everybody dives in and we start focusing on what really matters. And a lot of times that's budget and schedule. So I can say that in Lake County, it's a workable situation that we enjoy participating in. From a constructability perspective, we also love the fact that we have resources like Dominic Giannini with some of our local participation. He has a lot of local resources, and he helps out in that respect. So again, I could probably go on and on and on about all the great things here in Lake County, but I think those are probably the most important to us.
All right, thank you. Nothing further.
Keep going, because we like to hear how wonderful we are.
I was just intrigued by the growth of the design, the virtual design, the design team that you're bringing in more people, and that is because of the ability to be more cost-effective and accurate in some of your construction jobs. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would absolutely say so. LiDAR is a technology that measures elevations, and we can get that ahead of a site survey if it's not completed yet. Allows us to start working with the design team to start looking at options. Can we adjust the grades? In this case, it's fairly level, fairly flat. We might want to raise it if possible a little bit, but yeah, it really helps in that regard. And then as construction moves on, it's very helpful in that regard. You might want to share some of that from Mineola.
Sure. I mean, from a constructability perspective, it does not only on the front end, but it also helps us manage the work throughout the process. A lot of quality control, making sure that coordination, so we're meeting our schedules. Currently, we're ahead of schedule at Mineola. So again, this technology certainly helps the overall process. It also helps us understand what type of impacts that we have in this planning phase, as Andy was alluding to, and what is that cost implication? Right. Especially if you're going to acquire new sites, you probably have current surveys of your existing, but if that was an option, we can go out there and implement this technology to say, hey, this is what that impact is going to be for new properties. Not that we're advocating that. We'd love to see, options presented where we could use what we have on site or what you currently own, but again, technology has come a long way and it's benefited us exponentially, which is why the significant investment.
Right. And you guys mentioned there were lines that were under Salem that would need to be relocated as well. That's the first time we've heard that, isn't it?
Yeah, you have lines that are adjacent to and underneath Salem. And what they serve, again, we haven't done a deep dive on that, but obviously that would be one of the first things that we would do if that was an option of closing that road for use.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great presentation. My question, I appreciated seeing the overhead view of that other small site that you guys recently completed and how you fit it in there. My question, I think, would be more from your perspective and the time you spent on the site so far. How would you best utilize that adjacent almost 2 acres right there on the other side of Salem? Would you expand the school that way? Would you use that more for parking? What would be your initial thought I mean, if we can expand this site and build the school on both sides, seems to be ideal if we can get Salem closed. But how best would you go about utilizing that additional property that we don't currently have anything on?
Well, in thinking about how we would manage the overall construction process, if you're able to build on the adjacent site, that means you're not having to displace students into portables, which is the very last thing that we want to do because it's not cost effective. When you use portables as swing space, you're essentially just throwing money away. Money that could be better spent implementing that into a new structure or a site for that matter. So yes, it would be advantageous for us to be able to construct on that site. I will say that the residential property does make it challenging. I've seen some presentations and, I've talked to some of the other architects that presented. So I did review a lot of those models and they've worked around that property. But again, that's ideal. It really is. You want to try and utilize that as best you can, and we want to make it a focus to close that road. So you could do that, because otherwise you just can't, unless you do a flyover, and we're not doing that. That doesn't complement the community, and it certainly doesn't help your budget.
Right.
Thank you, Jim. Great job.
Absolutely.
I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to congratulate you on a good presentation and thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're gonna call the rest of the vendors and
I want to put on the record that I'm done.
Wow.
Wow.
You're welcome.
you are?
You're welcome.
I was stunned. I was speechless.
I know, that's why I told you, Mr. Zachary, just so you know.
So, but I wanna remind you,
This is my ranking.
I wanna remind you of the evaluation criteria, okay?
Okay.
We had 3 great and differing presentations. Obviously, we have the evaluation, all vendors given the evaluation criteria, so we're looking for the vendor that best presented based on the evaluation criteria that we have.
I highlighted that beforehand. Just
Okay, thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Could we take 5 minutes? Ever since y'all
Certainly.
mentioned the bathroom break?
Me too.
And I said,
I
no,
had to go
then
also.
I had to go.
Yeah.
We're going
We'll
to
take 5 minutes and then we'll come back.
Yep. Thank you.
That's before
So, anything to say?
Discussion, board members?
Any discussion?
But I'll say this, that this presentation, because initially I had all three tied.
Yeah. We had a three-sided coin.
Yeah, this was a really
Right?
tough one. I'm
Anybody
going to tell
bring
you
it?
guys, every one of you guys brought your A game, 100%.
I did.
I will say for me, the one that did the most background and the most research was DAG. That's for me. But again, everybody was great.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where we can feel confident that we're not going to go wrong regardless to how we decide. And that speaks to your expertise, your professionalism, and your commitment. And I just can't stress enough how very grateful we are that you want to do business with us. Because it's really nice, it's a nice position for us to be in. It's a difficult position, but it's a nice position because we can't go wrong. So that is certainly a compliment to all three of you. And Ms. Luke?
No, I don't have any comments. I was listening.
Mr. Dodd? Mr. Brandyberg?
I just think building off that, all three are extremely qualified and gave great presentations. But so, I mean, there's no wrong choice here. The only thing I would add that's weighing heavily on my decision is two of the three have done a lot of work with us lately. One hasn't had the opportunity in quite some time, and with being so close, just trying to make sure we're spreading work around appropriately is my only comment. Ms. Boardway, do you have any comments on this one?
I just appreciate the passion that all three companies exhibited today. You could tell all three want this project, and it's not an easy one, so I appreciate their passion, aside from the challenge that this project brings. So I appreciate it.
I would say thank you to you. I appreciate that you've laid out specifically what to look for in these scopes beforehand, and I know you've shared that with, obviously, the companies that you're working with as well, but it's been helpful for me to evaluate them because I think the evaluate isn't even the right word because of their qualifications. So it is you're bringing high-quality candidates forward.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to collect and I'm going to tap scores and
Mine's in the air.
I already announced mine. Take mine first, Mr. Zucker. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Calls me up here, I am not the bad
You gotta check
person.
it out.
While he's recapping, can you go ahead and give us the update? Is that going to be very long?
When is that going to happen?
We have a Mineola relief update.
That is not from me.
The principal.
That's from.
Oh, it's from the principal?
Nelson.
Did she do it while we were here?
She's ready when you are.
You want to
Come on
do
up.
that?
5-minute break here.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to do
Right.
their thing. We can go.
Yeah, we can kill two birds with one stone here.
So,
Yeah, so speaking of Mineola, I know I'm excited today to hear from Principal Nelson and have her give you an update that hopefully will end with us not calling it Mineola FF anymore. She's done a lot of work with the community and a survey, and yeah, we're ready to get those T-shirts going and get the school named and moving forward. So she's done a tremendous amount of work, and what I'm also excited about is for her to share a little bit about the vision and what is going to be unique for students attending this school. So if you haven't met, this is Andrea Nelson, and she is the proud principal of the almost named school, not Mineola FF.
Yes. All right, well, thank you, Superintendent, and thank you, school board members, for giving me this opportunity to go ahead and provide some updates on the Mineola K-8. So I won't take up too much of your time, but I am excited to be able to share with you just some of the core values and priorities of the school. And then also excited to provide a STEAM education curriculum progression that is really focused on that aviation, aerospace, and engineering curriculum, which are a focus of the school. And then last but certainly not least, to be able to share that school name, the school colors, and some possible school mascot options. So when I started to think about and really sit down and envision the core values and priorities for the school, it was important for me to take into consideration, of course, our Lake County Schools mission and vision statement. And specifically, when I think about a focus on aerospace, that dynamic, progressive learning environment really came to mind, that really stood out as being that focus where we are ensuring that our students are successful in that post-secondary education and also the workplace. So these are the 7 core values or principles that are really helping to shape the foundation of our learning community. So I personally have seen the benefits of working together as a true professional learning community. So it was important for me to include that collaborative culture and also taking collective responsibility for all students on our campus. I am committed to high levels of learning and academic excellence for our students, and then of course using data to help drive instructional decisions on campus. It is also important for me to provide our students opportunities to read, write, think, and talk throughout the school day across all content areas. And then with a school focused on innovation, I had to, of course, or on aerospace, I had to, of course, include innovation as a core value. And then student safety and that community engagement of bringing our stakeholders and community members on board. And then from those core values, I was able to develop some school priorities. And I'm not going to read over all of these for you today, but I am going to focus in on priorities 3, 4, and 5, which really, I think, embody that innovation and creativity piece that are helping to drive the planning process for this K-8 school. All right, so as you know, this is a really exciting time for us here in Lake County, especially with our partnership with Space Florida and the Space Florida Academy program. And we have this unique opportunity with a school-wide focus on aerospace. We have an opportunity at the Mineola K-8 to be able to provide our students a focus on STEAM education through that aviation, aerospace, and engineering piece. So this is just a brief overview of what the STEAM education progression will look like, starting as young as our VPK students all the way through 8th grade. So as you can see, this is broken down into grade level bands of what that education piece, that curriculum will look like, with the bottom being that school-wide focus where students will have different opportunities across all grade levels through clubs, or different family engagement opportunities. So as a school that's focused on aviation and aerospace, it's really important for us to embed that STEAM education throughout the school day. On the elementary side, really starting with the enrichment wheel. So I envision building a collaborative enrichment team where they plan around and focus in on STEAM education throughout art, music, PE, media, with STEAM enrichment being kind of the heart of that team and that STEAM piece. So this summer, I had the opportunity to attend the Computer Science Festival, where I was kind of introduced to the whole world of computer science, aviation, aerospace, and engineering. And this was in Putnam County, hosted by the STEM2 Hub out of Jacksonville. So since then, I've had the opportunity to collaborate with the STEM2 Hub and really help to narrow down our focus to develop that STEAM progression that will help our students not only get excited in that aerospace piece, but also to build meaningful learning experiences throughout their time with us at the school. So one way that we're going to be able to do this, or we hope to be able to do this, is through the WOS-Ed curriculum, which is a STEM curriculum and company that was actually founded by Steve Wozniak. So this curriculum, they provide science and technology kits and turnkey lessons for school districts that choose to utilize this curriculum, with the goal of the program really to develop that engineering mindset in students while also developing the soft skills that employers value. So thinking of collaboration, problem solving, and critical thinking are all built into the projects throughout the pathways. So there are 10 pathways actually within this curriculum, but I'm most interested in the 3 that are very closely aligned to that aviation and aerospace theme. So the idea is I'm actually working closely with the STEM2 Hub with the possibility of gaining some grant funding through Space Florida to be able to purchase these 3 pathways, levels 1 and 2 specifically, which really hone in on that elementary side, with the goal of eventually building up to that level 3 for the middle school, but specifically with the drone pathway. And then as we shift over to the middle school, it looks slightly different just because students now have some choice in the pathways and that they get to explore through electives. But there are 2 very unique opportunities that I wanted to highlight that students on the middle school side will have some opportunities. So one of them is the Student Astronaut Challenge, which is an aerospace-based STEM competition. And much like a robotics team or a STEAM club, students get to form teams and then practice different challenges and simulations throughout the school year. And then in the spring, they actually get to come together at the Kennedy Space Center, and they get to compete with teams from across the state of Florida and Georgia in these different simulations and challenges. And then the last one, or the second one, is the CSOs, or Chief Science Officers, and that is basically a leadership opportunity for our middle school students where we would bring in that community partnership. So community leaders and professionals would serve as mentors and just help guide students in the STEM field. So students would have different leadership opportunities directly connected to STEM. And then, of course, in addition to the middle school electives, just the traditional ones being offered, the culinary, business, and technology would be the 3 clusters that we would focus in on that would allow students to continue those pathways that they started all the way in VPK through 8th grade. The one that I want to just briefly focus in on is culinary, because one exciting thing, there is space for our students at the school to be able to maintain a garden. And so one of the really cool things I learned about is Microsoft Farm Beats, where students actually take their very affordable, like a microbit-based hardware, where they actually get to measure the temperature of the soil, the moisture levels, and really try to find the best environment to grow the vegetables that they then in turn get to use during culinary. And then also hoping to have a possible partnership with Embry-Riddle as an additional opportunity for students interested in those fields of business and technology. So, and then finally, just some school-wide activities, throughout various grade levels, really incorporating and bringing in that aerospace focus through various clubs and family events that we would be hosting across campus. So before shifting over to the naming, I just wanted to see if y'all had any questions about the progression or the curriculum.
I think it's brilliant.
I got a question so far on
Yeah.
those middle school electives. I noticed that there's no band or chorus as part of that slate.
There is. So
There
this
is.
yes, this is just in addition, because
Okay.
for the purpose of today, it's really just the aerospace, but no, in addition to the traditional electives, so there will be band, chorus, and the
Okay.
typical, this is more just the aerospace
All right, I can
piece.
start breathing
Yes.
again. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is just, yeah. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right. So now for the naming. So as I kind of sat down and was really thinking about honing in on and narrowing down the names, it was really important for me to be very thoughtful in the process. So as I worked to narrow down the names, these were some of the things that I took into consideration. So I used this criteria. One of them, I wanted to make sure that I incorporated academy in the name, just not only to keep in with the Lake County Schools naming convention for the K-8s, but also to communicate that high academic standards and achievement. It was also important for me to take the local geography and the landscapes into consideration as well. And then I wanted a name that was unique, so not already being used. And then also keeping in mind, again, our core values, but specifically innovation and trying to connect it to that aerospace and aviation theme. And then in addition to those considerations, it was also important for me to gather some community and stakeholder input. So we had an opportunity to meet with the City of Mineola, and they did express that it was important for them that we included Mineola in the name of the school. So following that meeting, I was able to narrow it down even further. And then, of course, I wanted to involve our community. So through the help of our communications department, I was able to send out a survey to families who are residing in the school zone to help them and get their input on the selection of the school name. So over 400 responses were received with the survey, and taking all of these pieces into consideration, I'm excited to be able to present the name Mineola Horizon Academy, or MHA. And so that name incorporates the city's name. It really creates that connection to the community. And then the word horizon symbolizes new opportunities, exploration, and discovery, which really are core themes when I think about a school focused on aerospace. And then I also feel that the name suggests that forward thinking, the innovation, where students are inspired to aim high and to really pursue those new possibilities. So, and then just moving forward, one of my first tasks when I was appointed as principal was to select the school colors. And so I had to move quickly on that because I had to give the colors for the gym and all of those. So again, I wanted to be thoughtful. So I looked at just the local environment and really trying to narrow down colors that would match the theme, but also colors that are not being used at nearby schools. So I selected emerald green, navy, and gray as the colors. And then last but not least, a mascot selection. So again, wanting a mascot that was appropriate for students at elementary and middle school levels. Something that is great for school spirit, but also connects to that theme, again, of the aviation and aerospace, and something that flows with the school name. So the two possibilities that I am looking at right now are Falcons, which are known for their speed and agility, but also that connection to the Falcon 9 rocket. And then another idea is something along the lines of maybe an astronaut or a space shuttle, but something with explorers that would connect to that innovation and discovery theme. So those are
Well,
what
it
I
is
have.
very apparent that you have put a lot of thought and effort, and we certainly are grateful for that. Any other board members have any comments that you'd like to make?
Very good.
Thank you.
I just had a couple of questions.
Sure.
So in thinking about this very robust STEM curriculum, and you've got some really innovative offerings there that we don't see anywhere else, is that going to just be able to roll out with your staff, or are you going to have additional folks that are going to kind of coach or oversee that sort of?
So in collaboration with the STEM 2 Hub, they are really helping me to look at what the rollout would look like. But if we're able to purchase the WASED curriculum that I had mentioned, there is training that comes with that. And really with that being the focus of the school, that's really where I would spend most of my time during the rollout phase,
All right.
with just coaching and providing support.
And then my other question is, okay, so your middle school population is supposed to only be like 400 or so, right? And so I know sometimes it gets difficult to justify an entire allocation for some of these particular electives, and when you don't have necessarily a huge amount of the people. So with that, are there going to be opportunities for the elementary kids to partake in some of those middle school type electives? Like, would you get earlier access to band or culinary or anything like that? I think we might have approached that in some of the other K-8s as we rolled out. What does that look like for you?
I can certainly look into that. I have not thought that far into it, but once I actually see the number of students who are, planning on coming to the school and get a chance to look at my allocations, that's certainly something that I would consider if it's available.
Sure. Okay. All right. I think you just hit a home run with how you've really put a lot of thought into the naming there, and it's innovative in itself.
Thank you.
And meaningful. So, well done.
Thank you.
Very well done. Having sat in your seat, I can tell you that you have done an excellent job. You make us very proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Molly?
Mr. Zachary? Drum roll.
We have a winner. We do not have a tie. So, the lowest, which is the highest rank, is DAG. Is going to be the CM for this project. followed by CPPI, and then Wharton Smith.
Congratulations.
That's it. DAG number 1, CPPI 2, and Wharton Smith 3. Got that?
Thank you. Board member comments, Mr. Mathias?
I'm really good. I'm interested to hear, actually, the superintendent, how things went at the emergency management today. One thing that you don't think about, because this is going to be the real deal, the storm coming in. And for those that are listening, I would highly suggest take your cell phone and video the interior of your house, the exterior of your house, something that we haven't done in a while, like a couple of years. So we're in the process. Mindy's doing it today. And it may just help in case of damage and you're arguing with the insurance company.
Yeah,
so everyone should stay safe. And in a minute, we'll hear about what's happening. That's it.
Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, so, I know with storms, there's so many details that go into this, and one of the questions that just kind of came up, I heard from a few different teachers, as it coincidentally coincides with the end of the grading period, and there's this awkwardness of, okay, grades and assignments and things of the sort from teachers who were counting on this particular week, and so I'm not sure if there are any sort of mechanisms, or I don't even know what day grades are due, but I'm hearing that sort of thought. Also, the teachers were counting on some of these assignments. So, for instance, I've got a kid where there's a test, now it's going to be 70% of his grade because there's no time to do the other test that's supposed to happen. Or another kid's got a test that's 45% of his grade. There's no time to do another test in that subject either. And that's kind of a high-stakes experience there when you have an assignment counting 70% of a kid's grade. So I guess I'm just wondering, I don't think we need to decide that at this moment, but let you all, as the smart people in the room who have to do with this sort of thing, how do we navigate that sort of question and what that's going to look like for grading and for kids and for teachers?
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Luke?
I was just curious. I think that the.
Oh, you want the answer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe we do need to decide it right now.
No, not the answer, but just the update in regards to what was known. I think there's a
So
lot.
Mr. Mabry's been at the EOC since noon yesterday, so already started that around the clock. As we've sat here watching it continue to shift a little bit further north, so that's not a good thing for us. But so where we are right now, the policy group met at 9 o'clock this morning, is that starting tomorrow, we will prepare to open 15 shelters, so that's every school that's eligible. So we'll start by identifying the 9 that will be the 5 special needs, the 4 pet friendlies, for sure. Those will open tomorrow afternoon. So we will run our early release Wednesday schedule tomorrow so that they can start moving in all the equipment that will be necessary to open shelters late tomorrow after school is concluded. They do want to conclude ELC at 4 because they're needing access to, even in our high schools, that will be gym spaces. So no after-school activities tomorrow, as all of our facilities will be shifting over tomorrow afternoon. The schools will be notified later today as to which of the shelters will open as the primary shelters, followed by, once they see the impacts as it continues over the next 24 hours, the closer it gets, the more shelters we will open. So the principals were all on a meeting as well today that are our shelters, so they're going through all of their setup protocols. So that's happening now as we're sitting here. Schools will be closed Wednesday and Thursday throughout the duration of the storm. And fortunately for us, Friday is a teacher planning day, so we're very fortunate that parents were already preparing or planning for their students to be home on Friday. So Friday, we will give teachers the option of whether that's a virtual time for them, depending on what their situation is. When our shelters close, because we may still have some shelters open on Friday. So Friday, students are home, and teachers will be able to work from home, go to school, whatever their needs might be when it's safe for them to do so. So that's where we are. I will look into any questions that arose about the extension of the grading period. I know Mr. Weeks is working on running instructional minutes to see what days we'd have to make up, if any. We typically always build in time. So he's running that down to the minute so that we can see whether or not we have to make up any days, but we will worry about that another time. That's where we are right now. Any questions on on that. All that information has gone out because parents are asking, so Ms. Owens has already run that. The county will put out information about shelters, the timing, once they've determined all of that. Probably later today, we'll have a press conference on all of this tomorrow morning.
Is there any chance that, because I'm certain our shelter is going to be used this time, is there any chance that, depending on conditions, that it may go into next week as far as?
At this point,
No.
that's not, I guess that's an unknown as to the extent that we would need to use them as shelters. Typically what happens, and the county's done a great job working with our churches, that often will transfer from us. So on Friday, if there are still those that are needing to be in a shelter, they would move them over to a secondary facility, which is one of our churches. So I'm sure that that's probably the plan, because that's been the plan in the past.
Perfect.
I know we're quickly reading emails and things of the sort. Can you clarify? We're closing early on Tuesday.
We are closing early on Tuesday. This was just determined within the past, since the initial press release went out.
So there will be another release.
There's going to be another one, yes, as this is going to continue to shift over the next 24 hours, but as of right now.
Okay.
And I'm also working with all of our Central Florida school districts as well. I think we're all pretty much on the same page at this point. Everyone's kind of looking at doing the same thing. So that's where we are.
And at the very, very bottom of the list, I know this was also supposed to be FTE week, so I'm sure the state will step in on how we do that when we have that data.
They've already sent out some guidance from last week's storm as to the extension of that, if we needed the extension. At the time, we didn't. But now Mr. Weeks is already following up to see what we need to do to extend the FTE window as well. So, yeah, always a lot in play.
Any other concerns or comments? No? Well, certainly, we are very appreciative to you and to staff. Storms are always hard, but it sounds like we're doing all the right things and making all the right decisions, so thank you for that. We don't have our attorney, but Madam Superintendent, you just had comments. Do you have any more?
No, just stay safe, and we'll keep everybody informed.
Okay. Once again, congratulations. We look forward to working with you again. Nothing further from you, Mr. Zachary? Okay, our meeting is, all right, we're adjourned.